Introducing The Adventures of Little Superdude
and the case of the missing top hat.
Dun, dun, dun.
Part 1, Moving Day. Jerome stood on his front porch and watched as his dog Roscoe sniffed around the neighbor's lawn.
Roscoe, come here, boy.
Jerome called loudly, looking around his new neighborhood. The street was empty. No one had come outside to say hello, and the movers were almost done unloading the big moving truck. He watched the moving men carry the last few boxes into the house. Jerome was sort of sad to see them go. The driver gave the men a thumbs-up sign and jumped down from the cab of the truck. He walked to its back and pushed a black button. The loading ramp squeaked and groaned until it disappeared. The driver pulled down the rear door and latched it. Smiling at Jerome, the driver waved and got back in the cab. Waving back, Jerome could not help but think the truck was his last connection to his old home in New Jersey.
Man, I wish we didn't have to move to Georgia,
Jerome thought as he sighed and watched for anything exciting to happen. He could hear his dad thanking the men for their help and, of course, his mom offering the movers mugs of herbal tea.
Man, I better get inside before my mom starts fussing about me catching a cold and makes me drink a cup,
thought Jerome. It was late November, and the early morning air was chilly. His dad had told him Georgia was in the South, so the weather would be warm. Even Jerome's old second-grade teacher, Miss Bounds, had taught him that Georgia had warm weather.
Man, they must have made a mistake,
Jerome said as he shivered and peeked over the sky. It was gloomy, bluish-gray, kind of. Jerome stepped inside and closed the front door. Inside was nice and warm, but Jerome was still shivering. Not from the weather, but from worry. He was worried about starting his new school. He was worried that he would not make any friends, and he was worried there would be no new mysteries to solve. With a heavy sigh, Jerome trudged up the stairs to his new room. He didn't even care that he had left Roscoe outside. Standing in the doorway of his new room, Jerome looked around and frowned. He missed his old room. Everything he loved was packed in boxes. He could hear the big moving truck start its engine. Jerome walked to the window and looked out onto the street. Roscoe was sitting on the front lawn with the neighbor's dog, and his mom and dad were standing in front of the house laughing and talking with the neighbors. Jerome shook his head in disbelief. Man, even Roscoe had found a friend. Jerome felt so alone. The moving truck made its way down the winding driveway. Jerome watched the truck turn right and continue up the street until its taillights were out of sight.
Catch you later, New Jersey,
he thought. Jerome stared at the empty walls in his new room. At 9 years old, he was old enough to start unpacking his stuff, but he had no energy. Jerome was filled with despair and gloom. He missed his friends. He missed his neighbors. He missed the people and places he was used to seeing and hearing every day. He even missed his second-grade teacher, Mrs. Bounds, and she was tough because, man, she gave a lot of work. Jerome was so deep in thought that he didn't notice his mom and dad standing in the doorway. "Is everything all right, Jerome?" his mother asked softly.
"Hey, buddy, you look like you lost your best friend, man,"
his dad added.
I'm okay, I guess,
Jerome said in a choked voice, and with his back turned to them. He didn't want his mom and dad to see the tears in his eyes. "Well, we know that moving to a new place can be tough, so your father and I came to see if we could help you set up your room," his mother continued.
"Yep. We thought after you get your room together, you might want to explore your surroundings. You know, get acquainted with the new neighborhood,"
said his father.
But I miss my friends, and there's nothing to do here,
said Jerome sadly. His mom nodded sympathetically. "Baby, you have to give Atlanta a chance, sweetheart. You've barely been here 3 hours. Tell you what, let's set up your room, have some lunch, and then maybe you and Roscoe can go, explore the neighborhood," Jerome's mom said with a sparkle in her eyes. I just know you'll love it here if you give it half a chance. Jerome continued to stare out the window.
Okay, I guess. Okay, I will try.
He said half-heartedly.
That's the spirit. That's my little super dude. Come on, family hug,
said his dad with a big smile and his arms open wide. With his new room set up and his most prized possessions in their proper places, Jerome was beginning to feel just a little bit better about moving to Atlanta. In fact, he thought, I might even be able to check out the block before the neighborhood kids get home from school. Jerome, time for lunch, his mom called from the kitchen. Jerome quickly began to check the items off his detective investigator's checklist to make sure he had packed the essentials in his backpack. 1 magnifying glass, 2 pair of tweezers, 2 empty plastic peanut butter containers, skunk spray, that's really essential, 2 jump ropes, a small flashlight, extra batteries, 2 empty Ziploc bags, a special edition, the real thing, Eagle Scout Explorer Swiss Army knife, a pocket notepad, 2 pencils, 1 bottle of water, a foghorn, and 2 granola bars with 1 bag of gummy bears. Coming, Mom! Jerome answered, grabbing his waterproof watch and detective hats off the dresser. Jerome enjoyed eating lunch in a new kitchen. His mom had made his favorite dinner for lunch: fried shrimp, sweet corn, garlic cheddar biscuits, and a tall glass of sweet tea. His father had even promised to take him to the Falcons-Jets football game on Sunday at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Jerome was really happy.
Mom and Dad, I think I'll go explore the neighborhood a little,
Jerome said as he helped his mom clear the table. That's a great idea, said his mom excitedly. There's a park nearby that you should check out, and a bookstore, and an art studio, and, Jerome's mom's voice trailed off. Baby, I guess you will find all of this out on your own, she said with a smile.
And I set your bike in the driveway,
his dad said.
I thought you might need it to, get around.
Jerome's mom added, remember your bicycle safety rules, and please be home by 4 o'clock. We have to get a few items from the grocery store. Jerome kissed his mother, dapped up his father with their special handshake. I
love you, Dad. You the man.
And sprinted out the kitchen. Jerome shouted,
Come on, Roscoe. Time to explore!
Part 2. Case of the Missing Top Hat. Jerome checked his bike to make sure it had survived the trip in the moving truck. After all, this was no ordinary BMX bicycle. He wiggled the handlebar stem and tapped on the compass, ran his fingers over the chain and tinkered with the engine mounted in the frame, squeezed the tires and polished the reflectors, tapped on the spokes and pushed down on the seat. Yeah, everything was sturdy and intact.
We're all set, Roscoe,
Jerome said as he put on his detective's hat and cocked it to the side. Roscoe responded and wagged his tail. He was just as eager as Jerome to explore the new neighborhood, and Jerome was taking too long. Jerome checked his watch. He had already decided to check out the magic shop he had seen located on the main street, not far from his house. It was 1:30 p.m. Jerome only had 2.5 hours to explore, so he hopped on his bicycle, coasted down the driveway, and up Victory Street. Jerome made sure to stay on the sidewalk as he pedaled the 3 blocks to Lee Street. He noticed a lot of interesting things along the way, and he reminded himself to write down his observations before he went to bed that night. Jerome stopped pedaling at the corner of Victor and Lee Street. Looking around, Jerome was thrilled to see Lee Street was busy with moving cars, packed stores, and bustling people. Jerome pedaled a little farther up the street. Whew, there it was. The magic shop was located in between a bookstore and a barber shop. His eyes grew wide with excitement.
Roscoe, I can't believe our luck. A real-life magic shop. Come on, boy. Let's go inside.
Jerome locked his bicycle in the bike rack in front of the magic shop.
Okay, Roscoe, try not to break anything.
He warned as they walked inside. Once inside, Jerome was amazed. The store was crowded with shelves of books on magic tricks, stands of ropes and rings, and cups and cards and balls and balloons stood tall and inviting. Tables were lined with wands and small boxes that fit neatly into big boxes. Sparkly, shiny magic items that Jerome didn't even know existed, beckoned him to pick them up and try them. To Jerome's surprise, a balding man who wore glasses that looked like square goggles came tumbling out of the closet.
Man.
The man grunted as he laid sprawled on the floor.
Whoa. Phew. Are you all right, sir?
Jerome asked in a nervous voice. The startled man looked up to see Jerome standing over him.
Yes.
The man cleared his throat and straightened his glasses.
Yes. I'm fine, young man.
The man said as he struggled to his feet.
Welcome to Mr. Mooney's magic shop. I'm Mr. Mooney, and are you looking for something special?
Nuh-uh.
Jerome said as he shook his head.
I mean, no, sir. I was just looking around.
Well, look as much as you like, but look now, don't touch her or anything, and or don't break anything, and put that dog outside.
The man frowned through his glasses and scurried toward the back of the store.
Whew.
Jerome stood glued to the floor and thought,
Man, that Mr. Mooney sure is weird.
Jerome checked his watch. He had an hour to look around, so there was no time to think about Mr. Mooney. Jerome walked toward the gag section. He saw so many cool things. A giant pencil, zombie finger puppets, hypno glasses, a fart machine, bacon, gumballs? He couldn't decide what to buy first. Jerome had narrowed his choices down to no-tear toilet paper and bar of dirty face soap. That'd be a good trick to play on his dad. When Mr. Mooney came bursting through the front door.
What in the world? I just don't understand. Where could it be? I just don't know. What happened?
Shaking his head, Mr. Mooney mumbled under his breath.
What am I going to do? I really did it now. Oh, me. Oh, what?
Mr. Mooney walked around in a circle and threw his hands in the air and shouted,
I give up!
Sitting in the chair behind the cash register counter, Mr. Mooney hung his head in defeat. Watching Mr. Mooney made Jerome forget all about buying gag toys. He walked over to where Mr. Mooney sat and softly asked,
Mr. Mooney, is everything all right?
Raising his head, Mr. Mooney sighed.
Just all my hard work is gone. Poof, plam, kaput! Vanished into thin air. I'm finished. I'm ruined.
Mr. Mooney lowered his head. Jerome had not expected to solve a mystery on his first day in town, but Mr. Mooney needed his help. Besides, Mr. Mooney was the owner of Jerome's newest, most favorite shop. Jerome cleared his throat and said in his detective's voice,
Mr. Mooney, I can help.
Oh,
Mr. Mooney groaned.
No one can help me. I'm the worst magician ever.
Jerome walked over to his backpack that he had placed by the front door. He took out his magnifying glass and shifted his detective hat onto his head. Next, he grabbed his notepad and placed a pencil behind his ear. All set and ready to solve his first mystery in Atlanta. Jerome put on his book bag and walked back over to Mr. Mooney. Jerome tapped Mr. Mooney on his shoulder and said,
Hey, Mr. Mooney, please tell me what happened, sir, from the beginning.
Mr. Mooney sat up and blinked his eyes and focused on the boy who stood in front of him. The little boy was no more than 10 years old. He wore jeans with a shirt and a tie underneath, a boy's blue-gray heavyweight peacoat. A Rumpel's detective hat sat on his head, and his hands held a notepad and pencil.
This is so funny. I can't just believe what's going on. My eyes were like, what do I see?
Amused by Jerome's appearance, Mr. Mooney cleared his throat.
Well, young man, I guess you'll not go away until I tell you what happened.
Jerome smiled widely and stepped closer. Mr. Mooney sighed.
Here we go. All right, here goes. 2 months ago, the great illusionist and magician, the wonderful Zorro, walked into my store. Yes, I mean it, just as I was about to close for the evening. Yes, my magic shop. And asked me to fix his magic top hat. Me, of all people, Mr. Mooney. Okay, breathe.
Jerome tried not to look starstruck, but he was bubbling on the inside. He was about to help solve a mystery for his favorite magician, the wonderful Zorro. Mr. Mooney continued.
How could I, me, just Mr. Mooney, refuse the wonderful Zorro? Really? Could I? Really? What? So I inspected the hat and noticed a tear and a loose spring in its secret compartment. I know, I'm just brilliant. I'm just so observant. Just brilliant. Just me, all mine. I'm just one. I told the great magician that I could have his hat repaired in 2 hours, tops. But he could not wait that long because, of course, he's just great. He's just so great. He told me that he would come back after 2 months to pick up his hat. And with the sweep of his great cape, he was gone. It was like he was never here. Just gone. Just vanished into thin air. Oh, breathe.
Mr. Mooney stood up and began to pace. I spent a month repairing that top hat for the wonderful Zorro. I even added a special gadget that I had been working on for years. Okay, maybe months, but it's like years. When I was done, I set the hat on a shelf in a hat box in the storage room. A few days ago, I went to get the hat, but it was missing. I have looked for 3 days straight, and I cannot find that magic top hat anywhere. Oh my God. What am I to do? I don't know what to do. The wonderful Zorro will be here today at 4 o'clock. 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. But there will be no hat to give him. Mr. Mooney shook his head sorrowfully and sat down in his chair. As Mr. Mooney spoke, Jerome wrote down notes as fast as he could. But Jerome was puzzled. He did not know how a hat could just poof, disappear into thin air. Jerome thought to himself,
Man, that hat didn't have legs to walk away, so maybe, someone took the hat.
Mr. Mooney interrupted Jerome's thoughts. Young detectives, kind sir. Any ideas where the hat could be? Jerome tried to look important as he scanned his notes, flipped his notepad closed, and tucked the pencil behind his ear.
Mr. Mooney, sir, I think someone took the hat.
Impossible. What is this guy talking about? This little kid. You know what I'm saying? Let him into my side. It just got things to it. I don't have time. Mr. Mooney shook his head. That's impossible. No one goes in that storage room but me. Only me. This is me. Jerome knew then the hat still had to be in that room. With a gleam in his eyes, he said,
Mr. Mooney, take me to the storage room.
And here we go. Okay, if you say so, Mr. Mooney said, getting up from his chair. Come on, young man. Follow me. The storage room was packed with all types of supplies. Shelves of labeled boxes lined the walls. Buckets and baskets of tools and trinkets sat on the floor. Jerome was amazed that Mr. Mooney could find anything in all this mess. Mr. Mooney pointed to a shelf labeled Finished Fixer-Uppers. On the shelf sat an empty top hat box. Jerome took his magnifying glass out his back pocket and peered through it as he walked around. He looked in the hat box on the shelf and jotted down some notes. He looked on both sides of the shelf, above on the next shelf, and on the floor in front of the shelf. Aha! Jerome said importantly. He had found a clue. He took a pair of tweezers and a Ziploc baggie out of his book bag. Using the tweezers, Jerome picked up a few long strands of white hair off the shelf.
Let me see. Yes, it looks kind of important. Anything that's in here is mine. It's like copyright.
Mr. Mooney peered curiously over Jerome's shoulder, looking important. Jerome carefully put the hairs in the baggie. Next, Jerome noticed small footprints and some powder that had spilled on the shelf. Jerome quickly sketched the shape of the footprints in his notepad. Jerome's eyes followed the footprints trail from the shelf to the floor. The footprints ended in front of a tall box labeled unicycles. Jerome wrote down some notes in his notepad and asked,
Excuse me, Mr. Mooney, do you own a pet?
Do I own a pet? What kind of question is that? Of course I own a pet. It's honest business. No. I don't own a pet. Well, at least not anymore. Why do you ask?
Mr. Mooney questioned. Well, sir,
I found some small white hairs on the shelf near the magic top hat. Then I noticed footprints leading from the shelf to this box. I think an animal took the magic top hat,
said Jerome excitedly.
Oh, that sounds kind of far-fetched.
Mr. Mooney thought for a minute, then said,
Well, maybe not. I used to sell rabbits. I had 2 left. Well, but one ran away a few days ago. I saw the other one yesterday morning.
As Mr. Mooney and Jerome talked, a tall box moved a few inches.
Did you see that?
Jerome shouted.
What? Oh my God, move, hurry up, just quick, run. What?
Mr. Mooney asked nervously.
The box moved, look. There it goes again.
Jerome pointed as a tall box inched its way toward the storage room door. Mr. Mooney looked worried.
Oh my God, I don't want to die, I'm just too young to die. I thought I heard some noises back here this morning, but when I came to look, I saw the box move and got frightened. That's when you saw me. Well, you saw me tumble out of the storage closet. I guess I forgot all about it when I went to look for the magic top hat and the dumpster out back.
Well, sir, I think we should lift the box to see what's underneath,
Jerome suggested. But before Mr. Mooney could agree, Roscoe bolted into the room and ran straight into the box. Crash! Bam! Wham! Bang! Roscoe and the box toppled over and landed in front of the shelf that held the empty magic top hat box.
Look!
Jerome shouted and pointed.
The magic top hat!
And my missing rabbit!
Mr. Mooney said in awe.
Jerome laughed. I guess this rabbit is ready for show business.
Mr. Mooney kept thanking Jerome over and over and over.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I don't know what I would do without you. I mean, I would have solved it, because I'm Mr. Mooney, I'm just a brilliant, magician, fixer, but thank you so much. What is your name again?
Mr. Mooney kept thanking Jerome over and over, and even rewarded Jerome with the 2 gag toys he had picked out earlier. Jerome looked at his watch.
Oh my gosh, it's 3:30. Man, I'm gonna be late. I gotta go, Mr. Mooney.
Jerome grabbed his things and ran outside.
Hey, young man, say! Come back, say! What's your name again?
Mr. Mooney yelled after him.
Jerome! But my friends call me Little Superdude!
Jerome shouted back and rode off. Jerome pedaled as fast as he could all the way home. He was disappointed that he couldn't stay at the magic shop to meet the wonderful Zorro. However, Jerome was sure that he would meet the famous magician one day. Even still, he was excited he had solved his first mystery on his first day in his new city.
Come on, Roscoe. Man, we have a lot to tell Mom and Dad.
Hey, Superdude! Hey!
Hey, Jerome, my man, what's going on?
Hey!
What you got planned today?
Superdude, baby, how you doing?
Junior Fantastic, Super Sleuth Master, crime-solving partners, on the case ASAP, agent with the evidence, question all the suspects, checking out the clues with my detective tools. Hey, yo! Man, hurry up, Roscoe! Hurry up! Man, we gotta go, boy! Man, you're taking too long. Roscoe, put down the phone! Man, come on, man, we gotta go! I'm on a mystery mission, here I go again. Got my pen and pad, and my canine friend, with Roscoe by my side. no time to waste. I gotta make moves if I plan to solve the case. Snooping is my thing, just wrecking alibis. I'm exposing motives at the scene of crime. No case too big, no case too small. Super Dude and Roscoe